So I tried to do this earlier with a little screen record video. Somehow I fucked up my mic setting and it wasn't working. So let's just make sure my mic's working right now before we even do. It's not. Boom. Figures. Fuck. Yo, 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 yo. All right, my mic's working now. So I tried to do this earlier and my mic wasn't working. So now it's working. And I don't know what the fuck, why this keeps happening with my mic, but I try to do this little thing. I was like straight just read it off the cuff and reacted. And I did a whole video on this opinion article Mark Madden wrote about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I done already did this video, but now I got to redo it. So we're just going to talk about it and we're going to read it. And I'm just going to give my opinions on it either way, even though I already did it. The first time it was like an instant reaction, but this time, you know, I'm reading it for the second time and giving my reaction. But here we go. The headline of this opinion column is Mark Madden's hot take: the Steelers' preferred culture has returned. So here we go. As the Pittsburgh Steelers go into the regular season with hype falling just shy of ESPN's Mike Greenberg's unbridled frothing lust over Aaron Rodgers' era in New York, a happy coincidence has occurred. The Steelers are free of jerks. The preferred culture is back. Perhaps that's not a coincidence. Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown are just unpleasant memories. Unless you're trying to track somebody down for a celebrity fight or child support. The former doesn't provide much celebrity. The latter isn't likely to pay. Bell and Brown were great players, but their selflessness made it impossible to win. Brown's ring gain via tagging along in Tampa Bay doesn't count. He probably hawked it by now. I mean, it counts. He got a ring. How doesn't it count? A ring is a ring is a ring. He got a ring. Mark Madden. I don't like Antonio Brown, but at the end of the day, a ring is a ring is a ring. JuJu Smith-Schuster and his lovable brand of me first egomania have skedaddled his social media antics since tempered by Andy Reid in Kansas City. So let's just get into this. He's basically talking about, this is what I got into last time. He's talking about Le'Veon Bell. I can't really sit there and say that Le'Veon Bell was a selfish player. Le'Veon Bell had to do what he did. I mean, especially in the NFL and especially at his position, the running back position, you got to try to maximize your value. You got to try to maximize your value, period, point blank. Running backs only last like 5 years in the league on average. So, and if anybody else lasts that and is productive longer than that, usually they're considered one of the better running backs of all time. Let's just be real about it. And Le'Veon Bell had to do what he did. I mean, the Antonio Brown situation was totally different, though. Let's just be completely honest. You can't sit there and say Antonio Brown wasn't drama everywhere he goes. And the thing with Antonio Brown is the Pittsburgh Steelers made Antonio Brown the highest paid wide receiver in the league. So I can sit there and say Antonio Brown was selfish because that's the main reason. He's talking about JuJu Smith-Schuster. This is the biggest thing I hate with Mark Madden is his hate and his slander of JuJu Smith-Schuster because he's just a boomer, man. It's just ridiculous that the hate that he came down on with JuJu Smith-Schuster day after day, week after week. You can sit there and say, even Le'Veon Bell, okay, we did offer him the highest paid contract in the league. He just bet on himself. And he thought he could get more in free agency. I mean, he took a risk on himself. So it didn't work out for him. It didn't really, we're still fine. I mean, we probably could have won a Super Bowl with that roster. Let's be honest. If Antonio Brown stuck around, we had Ben, we had Le'Veon, and that defense was on the come up, and the offensive line was still one of the top 10 offensive line in the league at the time. And, it is what it is. Antonio Brown was crazy. He was selfish. I mean, that's basically the reason he wanted out of town is because of JuJu Smith-Schuster. I mean, JuJu got the shine. He was voted team MVP, and then he went crazy, Antonio Brown, because he wasn't getting all the receptions. He wasn't getting all the glory. He wanted the ball. And that's what happened. Antonio Brown. My first video is better, but but anyway, we're gonna get on to this because I really want to talk about JuJu and the JuJu slander because everybody knows about it. Le'Veon Bell. This is what he says about JuJu. JuJu Smith-Schuster and his lovable brand of me first egomania. See that's how I led into that before because he's calling JuJu an egomaniac just because he's on social media and all this stuff. Antonio Brown was an egomaniac. Le'Veon Bell, you could say, had a large ego because he thought he was the best back in the league. I'm the best back in the league, but really, Le'Veon Bell was in a situation and on an offense that really, are you the best back in the league? I don't know. Or are you just in a good system that puts you in a position to look like the best back in the league? And obviously, that's what it was because he went to the New York Jets and every other team he went to, he was incapable of cracking even 1,000 yards. He was not productive ever since he left the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's pretty much out of the league. The dude literally could still be in the league. I mean, he can't be no more than like 30, 31, 32. So he just don't got it no more. No team wants him on the roster. You got to wonder, if you're the best back in the league, why ain't he still in the league no more, Le'Veon Bell? So, yeah, there was a lot of egomania coming from Antonio Brown, coming from Big Ben Roethlisberger, coming from Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, the triple Bs. But to sit there and get down on JuJu Smith-Schuster was a team player at the end of the day. You can say all you want about the social media and stuff and dancing on the logos and doing his brand and doing his Instagram stuff and doing his YouTube and his Fortnites and shit or whatever he does on social media. That's just the way. That's just the game today. That's the game today, man, that every player is on social media. Mark Madden's like a boomer. I'm a millennial. And all these players basically coming in the league nowadays, they're basically all Zoomers. They all in Gen Z. They all grew up with smartphones and the internet and tablets and all that shit. Like I grew up, I didn't have that shit. Like I grew into that shit, the dial-up internet, the PlayStations, everything like that. But it's just the way it is. Like players have their own platforms. They're going to speak out. And the way the league is, it's just different. There's a salary cap. It wasn't like that back in the day when Mark Madden was coming up. There was no salary cap in the NFL. Teams could just go out there and pay players whatever they want. And it was just a whole different league back then. There was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as social media. Now that's everything. You go to school, kids in kindergarten are probably getting taught how to use tablets. They have to do their homework on their tablets and their laptops and everything like that. It's just the generation in the day we live in. So sit there and say that JuJu Smith-Schuster is an egomaniac. I think that's a horrible take. That's a bad take. JuJu Smith-Schuster gave a ton of money back to the city of Pittsburgh. I mean, he was constantly out there doing charity work and giving back to the city of Pittsburgh. And the man took a pay cut. The man took a pay cut to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The man went out there in the playoffs against the Kansas City Chiefs hurt, and he put his body on the line to help the team win a playoff game. And he was willing to do whatever the team was asking him to do. So to sit there and say he's some kind of egomaniac because he's on social media and everything like that, Mark Madden, you're just old, you're outdated, and this is why you got kicked off of WPXI, and this is why I don't even know how you're still on the X, because that's all you can do is really hate. That's the only way you can get any type of attention, is just being an obscure, just a straight hater, just saying the most fucked up, like JuJu Smith-Schuster. You basically were using JuJu Smith-Schuster, basically just like I'm using your name to basically clickbait and clout chase and get people to click on my videos and listen to what I have to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what you're doing with JuJu Smith-Schuster, because he had a ton of clout on the internet. He had a ton of clout on social media, and you were always attacking him. You had to put out a fake report about TJ Watt to get attention. So really, when it comes down to like straight analyzing the game of football, you're clueless, Mark Madden. At the end of the day, you're absolutely clueless. And JuJu Smith-Schuster was a very selfless player, very good kid. Maybe he shouldn't have been dancing on the logos. That's the one thing I could say about the social media thing. Probably shouldn't have been dancing on the logos, because that's basically you're giving teams bulletin board material. You're putting a target on your back, doing stuff like that. And once he got, I think it was against the Bengals, he got lit the fuck up. He got lit the fuck up that game. And ever since then, he was like, oh, no more dancing on the logos, because that's Just how it is. You're putting a target on your back. So they're not likely to make a comeback under Bill Belichick in New England. Chase Claypool, a more miserable and less production version of JuJu Smith-Schuster, went to Chicago. Joey Porter Jr. was the return that provided gain in talent and attitude. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't a jerk, but as his Hall of Fame career wound down, he needed to be super served more and more. That's a 100%. Ben Roethlisberger was drama throughout his entire career. Ben Roethlisberger called out the front office about their draft picks. Ben Roethlisberger was kind of a diva. Ben Roethlisberger had to call all his plays. We had to kowtow and cater to Big Ben Roethlisberger. Let's be honest. And I think that had a lot to do with the Antonio Brown and the Le'Veon Bell, because Ben basically got all the credit when, as much as you can say about Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, Ben had the best numbers of his career season-wise throwing the ball to Antonio Brown. Ben, seriously, before Antonio Brown, Ben wasn't putting up nowhere near the numbers like he put up with when he was throwing the ball to Antonio Brown, period. Antonio Brown, if he didn't go crazy, would have went down as one of the greatest receivers in NFL history. If he already might go down as one of the greatest receivers in NFL history. But if he would have just stayed a little bit humble, stayed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, stayed on his contract, he probably would have had a ring. Well, he already has a ring, but he would have had a ring, and he would have been the go-to guy for years and years and years to come with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and his numbers would have been ridiculous. All right, he would have been one of the greatest receivers in the league, but it is what it is. Ben had his diva attitude. I think, Brown, Bell, they were like, you know what? I'm the reason. I'm the one doing all the work. I'm the one doing this. And, there's egos. And that's what happened. But, Mark Madden's coming out with this positive report or column about the Pittsburgh Steelers, which actually, I don't agree with everything he's saying, but the culture has changed. I really don't see that either with this Pittsburgh Steelers team. This is kind of more of a band of brothers, especially what happened last year with Franco Harris. Like, they went through that. They went through the growing pains. Everybody had us counted out like halfway through the season. It was over. It was done. There's no way we're going to fucking win. We should just tank for a draft pick. La, 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 la. Like, even people in our own fan base were saying we should tank for a draft pick. But I seen a stat the other day that the last time the Steelers drafted in the top 5 was 1970. So when any fan in the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base, like, literally straight up says that, we should tank for a draft pick, that's insane. Because that's just insane. That's just a losing mentality. You're just giving up on a whole entire season. And having that losing mentality is going to breed more losing. It's all about coaching, and it's all about developing players. And that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers do, is they coach and they develop players through the draft. I don't care if they're a first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, undrafted free agent. I mean, shit. James Harrison, undrafted free agent. All-time Steelers sack leader. Willie Parker, Super Bowl champion. Longest run in Super Bowl history. Undrafted free agent. So it's all about coaching. It's all about development. And that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers do best, is coach and develop and draft players well. So to sit there and just give up on an entire season, that makes players not want to come to your organization. That makes players just want to play for money, just want to play for stats, and just want to play for the bag and not play for the win and the greater goal of the team. So with Franco Harris dying and everything that happened last year, I feel this team is just banded together, and they're all together on that common goal to win a Super Bowl. There's no egos. Kenny came out and even said, it's not about stats for me. It's about winning games. And that's what he's going to do. He's going to spread the ball around. You ain't got no egos. You ain't got none of this. And, we were looking really good in the preseason. Let's be honest about it. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't a jerk, but his Hall of Fame career wound down. He needed to be super served more and more. The Steelers bank on culture, but Brown running roughshod on coach's T. Watt skewed the locker room to an extent, and things felt wonky even after Brown left. Smith-Schuster and Claypool were Brown's less manic descendants, lesser players too. It was like high school. The troublemakers were the cool kids, the valedictorians weren't. But no more. Glue guys have arrived. Patrick Peterson, Allen Robinson, and Isaac Samalu. I can't even say his name. Kenny Pickett seems like a real leader in just his second year. The Steelers feel more like the Steelers. They're just plain old football players, no docudramas. They might even be likable. How likable? That depends on wins. Duh. And Mark Madden, the self-proclaimed hill of Steeler Nation, coming out with some positivity. He's out here on social media too, talking all this shit like we're only going to win 9 games, talking about betting people all this money and shit that we ain't going to win 14 games. Of course we're not going to win 14 games. That's a safe bet for you, Mark Madden. The Steelers aren't going to win 14 games. That's a hell of a lot of wins to win in a game. I don't know how many teams have won 14 games in a regular season, but that's a very tough task to do. But this team easily can win 10 to 11 games this year with this schedule and this offensive line and this defense and this whole team coming together, playing as a motherfucking unit. And that is a big thing. And this is actually a good article, I think, by Mark Madden. Mostly his articles they're terrible. They're just so bad, so terrible, just straight dribble. But this one was actually good. It was actually entertaining. He brought up some good points, and seems like we are getting back to that culture of winning and being the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that hit Brown took screw him up. He hasn't been right since. Yeah, you're probably right about that. He got messed up. A lot of people say that. What's his name? I think Burfict hit him. Everyone is sleeping on us right now. It's okay. We're fixing to wake all their asses. Small hands got plans. You say 12 games? I can see 12 games. It's going to come down to division, but we got the Colts. That should be a win. The Raiders, that should be a win. I think we get the Browns once, the Bengals once, the Ravens once. That's 3 wins right there. 5, 6. Who did I miss? I say the Colts, the Texans, the Raiders. There's some easy games on this schedule, though. The Packers, that's a game we should win. There's a lot of games we should win on this schedule. There's some tough games. The Jags won't be easy. I mean, the Browns, they ain't going to be easy. The Bengals ain't going to be easy. The Ravens ain't going to be easy. But the Seahawks, they'll be all right. But I think we could beat the Seahawks. And there's a lot of winnable games on this schedule and some toss-ups to where we're going to get some of those toss-ups. And we're going to have to win the games we have to win, period. But I just wanted to get my take on this little Mark Madden opinion column or whatever. The season's coming up. We're 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away now from the opening game of the regular season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I can't wait. We got Brock Purdy. Joey Bosa is still holding out for the 49ers, but they just moved Trey Lance to the Dallas Cowboys, probably in a move to free up cap space so they can get a deal done with Joey Bosa. And John Lynch came out the other day saying that he feels they are going to get a deal done with Joey Bosa. So that is a huge, major factor coming into this game week 1. Is Joey Bosa going to play, or is Joey Bosa not going to play? We're going to find out come in 13 days. They got to get a deal done and signed, or they're going to be without Joey Bosa on that defense. And let's be honest, they got a lot of weapons on offense, but really last year was about the defense. Honestly, they got Fred Warner, Joey Bosa, who won Defensive Player of the Year last year, and now he's holding out. So they'll be without the Defensive Player of the Year, and he's making I think $17 million, I read, or something like that. So that's $17 million of cap space sitting on the sidelines, and the reigning Defensive Player of the Year sitting on the sidelines. They're coming to Pittsburgh with Brock Purdy, Colin Cowherd labeled as some type of franchise quarterback, which I think is insane. It's way too early in Brock Purdy's career to label him as a franchise quarterback, especially where he was taken in a draft, because he does not really have talent. He has just like Le'Veon Bell, Brock Purdy is in the perfect system for him to strive. So for him to say he's a franchise quarterback is insane. And now we have a lot of tape on Brock Purdy, and we've had a lot of time to prepare and get ready for Brock Purdy on week 1. And they are coming up to Pittsburgh, which is one of the toughest stadiums to play. I actually had some 49ers fan in my comments say that the 49ers are going to take over the 49er fans are going to take over the Pittsburgh Steelers stadium. Hey, that's crazy. That's crazy. We're the only teams and fan base that has taken over another team's stadiums is the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, that we take over other teams' stadiums. All right, it ain't the latter. So you're gonna come up here and you're gonna have a bunch of angry yinzers, drunk as fuck on Iron City beer, revved up and ready to go week one, and we are charged and we are fired up in Pittsburgh because, like Mark Madden says, it looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers are getting back to being the culture of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that culture is winning and winning big games. And I think we are on the path to success with Kenny Pickett, with Mike Tomlin, with Najee Harris, and obviously this elite top 5 defense in the NFL. So here we go. They're going down 100. I'm excited about this year. Not happening, 49ers. Ain't happening. Ain't happening. Especially if Bosa ain't in that game. Especially if Bosa ain't in that game. Come on. And we got the tape on Purdy. He just ain't going to know what to do against this defense because this defense is nice, boy. It is very nice, very solid, very deep at every single level. Every single level. So we'll see what happens. Here we go, Steelers.